All right, welcome. So this is a bonus, actually. I don't normally do a 2-for-1, but I decided to do that today because, and I don't know why this never disappears. I don't know why this always disappears. I got to ask my friend about this. But the reason that I wanted to do this is because, there's a lot of people out there that want to tell you about their thing and why it's the only thing that you should do. And I don't believe that. I believe truly that there's not a one size fits all when it comes to deciding what path you want to pursue. Right? And I think one of the most arrogant things that you can do is to tell somebody there's only one path. I think something that's much more credible and ethical is to say there's many paths that you can take. This is why I chose this one and why I believe it's a good one, is that. So let me once again take a moment here rather, and let my community know. I don't know why I do this, but I always tend to go live before I announce it in my community. So, hang on one second. I know this is not exciting. Live. And then I always do this. So, if this is the first time you've been here, put a 1 in the comments. Something that I noticed that I did on my last live, I'm not going to do anymore. And that is address the other platforms that I am on. I am no longer going to address the other platforms. And so the way that I'm going to do this is I'm just going to talk about what you're able to see as a member of my as a member of my YouTube. That's exactly what we're going to do, and I don't know why this is. Let's go here. There we go. And I'm going to delete this here in a second. But yeah, I used to do this, and I don't know. It annoys me, honestly, that that's the way that this goes. So let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to bring this down, or am I going to bring this up? I think I'll bring this up. All right. There we go. All right. So, what we're going to talk about today is the difference between courses or high-ticket items and a membership. We're going to talk about it from a lifestyle standpoint. We're going to talk about it from other standpoints as well. But this is basically giving you the option of saying, based on the lifestyle you want and the type of business model that you want to pursue, why? Because look, everybody is selling a course these days. Everyone is selling a course. And I've never felt good about that because inherently for me, the problem with courses is that, and this is maybe just a thing on my part, but my thing is I don't believe they care whether or not you get the result from a course. I honestly don't believe people care whether or not the promise you're making to them actually gets fulfilled, because once they have your money, I don't think they care. And I have seen such evidence of this everywhere I go. That's why I don't like courses. I don't like them for the person because they're much less likely to get the results. So I don't like them for the person, but I also don't like them for you as a creator of a course. because there's so much AI slop out there right now that people just get suspicious. They get suspicious as if you know what you're talking about or if you actually created what you're selling. And for me, it's just one of those situations that I don't know. It's just for me, but I don't believe in it. Okay? So there you go. You have my 2 cents on this. But what we are going to talk about today, and I'm going to move myself over here so you can see this, but what we are going to talk about today is the differences between the 2 models. Okay? So let's go over here. Let's find, where is my thing? Where is it? There it is. Okay? So we're going to talk about the difference between high ticket and low ticket. And how do I get this? Okay, I want to publish this. Right? I want to publish it. So let's see what we're doing here. I want to publish. And then I want to move over and I just want to have this right here. That's all I want to have. All right, publish. And I'm getting much better at using these Claude Code artifacts, which are so cool. They make creation so much simpler because you can just ask it based on everything that you've given it to stack a skill, right? And then you can just share it with people. So let's pop this in here, right? Sorry, let's pop this in here. And then off we go, okay? And I think this is pretty cool. So I'm gonna bring this over. Whenever I get this chance here. You can tell I am not all that slick on the stuff that I am doing. But, and let's bring this up a little bit. Nope, that's what we want. Hello, everyone. So I strongly suggest you go on the other platform to check me out because I am over here on YouTube and I am loving it because to me it just seems like a much better way for me to do things. So here we go. Now I'm just going to present these slides to you and we will go from there. And a lot of this is just me reading. So it's not really, it's not really one of these in-depth things. So there are pros and there are cons, obviously, to everything. But there's pros and cons to a premium offer or what we call a high ticket or a course model. And I've already told you about my ethical concerns about high ticket. But let's just talk about the pros and the cons of a premium offer. It is high revenue per sale. Okay? One close can equal weeks of membership income. That is true. Fewer customers to manage and deliver to. That is also true. Course contents created once and sold repeatedly. Theoretically, that is also true. It positions you as premium as a high authority expert. But here is the problem I have with that is it positions you as a high authority expert, but it doesn't mean you always are a high authority expert. And so for me, there's an ethical or a moral concern about that whole thing. The clear transformation arc, people know what they're buying and there's no ongoing delivery obligation after a course is sold. Now, I don't see that as a pro because I see that as a ripe opportunity to not deliver what you're promising. So there's that. Now, here are the cons of a premium offer. Income is lumpy, right? It's feast or famine between launches. Launches are stressful. It requires strong sales skills or high converting funnels. And as a guy who's 58, I don't know about you, I don't want to deal with funnels. I don't want to deal with all these components that I have to kind of mesh together in order to do something. That's why I prefer the membership model, because it doesn't require strong sales skills. You can just be yourself. You don't have to be a high pressure salesperson. You don't have to worry about that stuff. So it doesn't require that. Courses also go stale. Content needs updating time after time. And that doesn't mean, and actually, most people don't update the content. And so when it becomes stale, it becomes outdated. And when it becomes outdated, they never actually take the thing down. They just keep selling something that's outdated and won't give people the results that they're looking for. There is a high refund risk if results aren't delivered. Major high refund risk. And I don't like that. Revenue resets after each launch cycle. You got to find a whole new crop of people to sell this thing to. And the old adage in marketing or business is it's a lot easier to service a happy customer than it is to find new ones. And it's a lot easier to satisfy an ongoing customer than it is a new customer. So by that logic, it also means that it's easier to get the ongoing customer to recommend you to other people. And if you give them incentive, it's really easy, right? So the revenue resets after every cycle with a premium sale. And it's harder to build an ongoing relationship because it's pretty much, hey, you paid for this thing, you got this thing, and it may or may not have gotten you the results. And most people won't actually go to the trouble of trying to get money back. But to me, that's not a situation where you're like, hey, I am happy with that. That to me is a situation where you are you're just not delivering on what you said you were going to. So what I prefer with that is to go to the recurring revenue model. One of the things Alex Hormozi talks about all the time is you need to have recurring revenue. As a matter of fact, he wrote this book. Right? He wrote this book, and a large tenet of this book, if you will, a large platform or a pillar of this book is this. It's this little circle with the dollar sign through it. And that is recurring income. That is what high-ticket courses and high-ticket customized one-on-one services do not offer. They do not offer monthly recurring revenue. And if you're patient, and what a lot of people do is because they're only interested in money, they create something that they are marketing as high ticket, but it doesn't provide the value that anybody's going to recommend it to anybody. And so you're not compounding your income, but people are in such a hurry to make money rather than delivering results. And I've always believed that if you deliver results, the income will flow. And you got to not be in such a hurry. You got to be more concerned with building something that's so good because it solves the problems that people tell you they have, that you're going to, they're going to take part of a large percentage of your marketing. So predictable monthly recurring income, and it compounds month over month. I said this in my last live, but most people, again, because they're out for the quick buck, most people, if you said, hey, I'll give you $1 million up front, or I will give you the option of having patience over the next 30 days and doubling a penny every day over the next 30 days. Which of those would you take? Which of those would you take? I'm just curious. Which of those would you take? And let's see if anybody is paying attention out there. But which of those would you take? I personally, and put it in the comments if you want to, But I personally always knew, because I knew it was a trick question, I always knew that the best source of that is the compounding interest, the compounding income, right? So you want to compound that stuff. Yeah, man, give me the penny. That's my guy Lion right there, right? That is my guy Lion. And let's see here. Where's my guy Lion? Where is his... there he is. Yeah, he's right up top there. He's like, give me the penny. And that's how I am. Because I understand the value long term of the penny, right? It is because if you took the million up front, you're leaving $4 million on the table. You're leaving it on the table. And if you'll just have a little bit of patience, and this is what so many people these days don't have. They don't have long-term vision, and they don't understand that you can build a more powerful thing, right, if you will have some patience. And you'll make the thing better and better. And then a year from now, you can say, look where I am, as opposed to being in a rush to make money, not building something good, and then turning around and either having to refund people or it falls apart because it's just not that good to begin with. So you want that monthly recurring revenue because it has compounding power. You're never starting at zero. You also want to build those relationships because it's the relationships that build the loyalty and the referrals. And you can't do that with a one-off sale. People just don't trust you that much. Now, if you're able to do something high ticket and it's a done for you service and you get the results that they promise you, yes, you can build that loyalty to people, right? But members actually become your best content in a recurring revenue model, right? Because my guy Lion, a lot of times, he'll see me doing this and using the tools that he teaches in his community, and he'll like share screenshots of what I'm doing. So your members do become your best content because they become the testimonial for what you're teaching actually working. All right? A recurring revenue model is a low barrier to entry. Easier to get that first yes. Because when you build something, especially if you give people a free trial, and I always like to tell people when it comes to the free trial thing, I always like to tell them that you would never buy a car without test driving it, and you would never buy a house by just looking in the windows. So why would you think that you have the ability to say yes to something if you don't test drive it? And that is a selling point for a recurring income model because it is a 7-day free trial. School does this with their actual platform. School does it. So why wouldn't you do it? Because you'll get more sales. And despite the fact that you're assuming that people are going to leave, they're going to get all they can out of the 7 days and they're going to leave, the numbers just don't show that is actually what happens for people, okay? It does not show that. The community itself becomes the value, not just the content. Because what happens is people start to develop relationships with other people. I've been in communities where I didn't find the community necessarily all that valuable anymore because the creator or the owner of the community started to change what he was doing and I didn't agree with it. But I was reluctant to leave that community because I was going to lose connection with people inside of that community. So I stayed a lot longer than I would. There's also, depending on what you're offering people, there's also multiple upsell options and paths once the community is started. But to just start out with a high ticket path, I just don't believe in it. Now, here's what people are going to tell you, but I don't believe also. That churn is a constant challenge. I don't think so. I've had very little churn in my group. And the reason I have is because I am constantly striving to make it better. And if you constantly strive to make something better, then you're finding ways to make it more valuable for people. Now, one of the best ways to make something valuable is to make it free, right? But you don't make it free by having people not pay. You make it free by them getting rewarded for recommending you to other people. Then you have an army of people recommending your thing, and you can, much like you can compound income, you can compound growth that way, because you're not the only one responsible. And if you give somebody that incentive, they will recommend you, and so churn doesn't become the issue that you think it's going to become. It does require consistent showing up. You can't disappear. But if you actually love it, why would you disappear? You know, one of the selling points, if you will, of high ticket or course selling is that you only have to do it once and then you don't have to do it anymore. Well, if you're touting the idea that you don't have to do it anymore, guess what? You don't love it, and you're only doing it for money. And I don't like that. I think that's a big boo. You know, as a matter of fact, let me tell you how much I think that is a big boo. Right? I don't believe in that. Where is it here? What's going on, guys? How are you? So, okay, it's not there, and I don't know why it's not there. I thought the sound effect would be there, but yeah, for me, that's not a selling point. I don't think not having to show up and not having to care whether or not people are getting they're getting what they wanted out of this, right? I don't think that's a selling point. I think that is a negative, and that's why I don't appreciate that thing in the model. Platform fees, slower to ramp up. Yes, it can be, but if you get good at promotion, then it's not. Whether you have a YouTube channel or whether you have a whether you get good at ads, and ads are not as complicated as people make them out to be. There's plenty of people out there that are really good at building things with ads, and they don't even do it with content. They just build it with ads, which is kind of exciting. But that people say that they're slower to ramp up. I don't personally believe that. Platform fees eat into margins. Yes and no. All right. If you use a platform that has you pay transaction fees, percentages of transaction fees, it's going to eat into your profits anyway if you're using a large payment platform. But what I like about this is you feel the hit of those transaction fees a lot less. For example, if you've got a $50 GRU, right? Your membership is $50 a month with recurring revenue. And even if you have a 10% fee, you're still taking home 90% revenue. That's pretty good, right? Members express fresh value. Well, of course they do. But if you love what you're talking about, you never get tired of talking about it. You never get tired of learning more about it. And you never worry about not enjoying doing it. And if you don't enjoy doing it, then you shouldn't be in business to begin with. Yes, it is lower member per revenue. But again, that can be offset in so many ways. Income predictability is my number one thing here. Income predictability. Revenue tied to launch cycles, that big months, silence, Januaries are awful, right? Sometimes Decembers are good and sometimes Decembers are bad. Just depends on what your revenue is. Between launches, all you're doing is marketing. You're not fulfilling on anything for people, and you're not looking at something and saying, hey, how can I make this better? Because you're too busy marketing. You don't have time to make anything better because you're spending all your time marketing in between launches. And one band launch can absolutely gut your income. And so evergreen funnels can help, but they rarely replace these launches. Alex Hormozi spent 12 months. Now, granted, it was worth it for him, but Alex Hormozi spent 12 months in pre-launch with his book, right? The book that he created here, this $100 million, he spent 12 months in launch. Now, you know what he didn't do? He didn't do that all by himself. He had a massive team that helped him do that. What I like about memberships is they pay on the same day every month. So you know there's going to be an influx of cash on that exact same day. It's predictable. It does give you a reliable floor. You know, even if I'm not successful bringing in more people next month, I know this is exactly what I'm going to get, assuming your churn is 5% or less, right? A slow content month doesn't necessarily tank your revenue like it does with high ticket or course sales or anything like that. So you don't have to just be cranking out the content all the time in order to maintain your revenue. And income grows incrementally because each member adds new permanence to your income, and not even counting if they become active in recommending what you do to other people. And that's why you set up these programs to allow them to affiliate for you. I'm all about retention. Because again, I don't want to spend all my time getting a customer and then having to go out and find another customer every single month, right? So when you're able to maintain that relationship, when you are able to find people that will stay engaged with you and help you promote what you're doing, you don't have to worry about hard to build community around one-time purchases because you're not constantly selling to new people. This is why I love the membership model. It is an ongoing relationship that builds over time. So not only do they get to know you, they begin to trust you, and they begin to realize that you have their best interest at heart because you're not gouging them for a one-time purchase. You know members by name. They get excited about just the simplest things. So one of the things that I have is I have a contest every month with the person who interacts the most inside my community every month gets a prize. And I sent one to the UK a couple of weeks ago, and she was so excited to get that she posted about it. And she said, I don't know why I was so excited about this, but I was thrilled that I got this thing. So you get to know those members, right? And you understand their goals. And then they start to feel more comfortable saying, hey, it's great that we have this, but can we have this as well? And then when they feel that, you can address those needs. And the more problems and sub-problems of what the problem you solve, the more of those sub-problems you can solve for people, the more value they perceive in you. And retention compounds. A 2-year member is worth a 24-time course buyer. Understand that. A 2-year member is worth 24x of a course buyer because of longevity in what you're creating. Now I'm going to start speeding this up a little bit because I try to keep these lives at about a half hour. Effort and ongoing delivery. Create once, sell repeatedly. The course doesn't change. I don't like that. High ticket coaching is intensive. The problem with high ticket coaching, especially if you're new to it, is that you run the risk of selling something that doesn't deliver. And if you don't deliver, and it's harder to deliver because the more you charge, the more they expect. The more demand they put on your time, right? So it doesn't change. It's intensive, but it is time boxed. I understand that. There is no daily or weekly obligation with high ticket courses or high ticket sales. You can step back in between launches. But a membership is a much more laid back way of doing things. Right? Members notice when you disappear, but that's good. You want them to hold you accountable. But again, if you feel the need to disappear, it's because you don't love it. You've heard that old saying that find something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. This is what a membership is about. If you choose wisely with your membership, you won't worry about disappearing. You won't worry about burnout. Fresh content, calls, engagement, yes, they are expected. But I think that's a good thing because you can't stay sharp if you're not staying connected with people. The value is must be recurring. Again, I love the value. I love the pressure of continuing to improve something so people want to continue to pay for it. And the facilitation is a real skill. Yes, it doesn't run itself, but there's enough examples out there that you can do this. Now look, there's a revenue ceiling on high ticket. And when I say high ticket, I mean anything. This says 2. Honestly, I would say anything 1,000 or more per client. A single week of sales can meet a month of memberships. Absolutely, it can. It is scalable with evergreen funnels, if you will. But content is never evergreen, so it's not evergreen promotion. And paid ads, yes. But ceiling is capped by your ability to sell and fulfill. If you don't want to hire a huge team, you can only spend so much time in sales before you have to start fulfilling. And the higher the price ticket is, the more work it's going to be to fulfill, the harder it is to dazzle them, which means the harder it is to get them to recommend you to other people. Whereas with a membership, low revenue per member, true, but it stacks month over month. 200 members at $97 is $19,000. Now, yes, you could have a $50,000 launch, but what would you rather have, a $50,000 launch or $19,400 every single month without a launch? And then you can add premium tiers. Let's say you didn't start at $97 a month. Let's say you just started as a mild commitment on their part for $5 a month. And then out of 100 people that take the $5 a month, let's say 15 people take $97 a month. Then you have 2 sources of income, right? And then the community itself also becomes an asset because the more you create for your community, the more resources that live in your community, and then they have that much more. Value to people. Audience requirements. High ticket needs a warm, trusting audience. Cold traffic rarely converts on high ticket. It requires strong authority and positioning in a specific niche, which means you have to be a subject matter expert, and you have to, a lot of times you're faking that you're a subject matter expert. It works well with a small but deeply engaged following. But it also, overall, because it's harder to sell, it takes a larger following, right? Launch fatigue is real, guys. You spend a lot of time trying to go into launches, as opposed to, hey, I get to work in the background on this thing that's going to be a better version of what this thing is. So lower barrier, $47 to $97 a month. It's an easy yes for most people, because if you want to learn guitar, $47 a month to learn guitar is nothing, right? It's absolutely nothing. It's less than 2 weeks worth of coffee at your favorite whatever, right? For $47 a month. And it works while you're still building authority. Membership does. Because the fact that you're willing to answer questions as a person who's a couple of steps ahead of the person who gets into your membership, it gives you authority. It also builds trust with your people. And it's easier to keep making the people that are in your group happy as opposed to having to sell something next month. It's very risky to rely on high ticket and courses because a failed launch is costly. It's time and money intensive. A high refund risk if they don't land the transformation. It's dependent on continuous lead generation and new buyers. And one bad testimonial can tank your whole thing. Whereas with a membership, low individual risk. Here's what I love about a membership. Just from a pure ROI standpoint. Let's say that you have 10 members in your membership. And let's say each of those members is paying $47 a month for that membership. Okay? So you're making $47 per member. Right? And you are, if you look at it in time, let's say overall your largest resource that you're doling out is your time. Let's say you have 4 1-hour Q&A sessions or workshop sessions in your membership. So for $47 a month, they're getting 4 hours of your time a month. That's $12 and something an hour for one person. But for those same 4 hours, if you have 10 people paying $47 a month, then you're making $40 something an hour. So what happens is you compound your hourly rate with the more people that you bring in, right? So that low individual risk of that one person leaving is not magnified like it is with a high ticket or a course. MRR absorbs slow months without these catastrophic results. And so churn is gradual and manageable. It's not sudden. Like if you're selling high ticket and your goal is 5 high tickets every month, and that's what sustains your business, what if you only have 1 high ticket that month? It kills your business, right? But a community, goodwill, and social proof builds over time. And then you have those people, word of mouth, which is your best thing. So here's why small creators use both, but here's also why small creators fail. The premium upsell is only for the most committed members, but if you can't deliver on it, it backfires on you. Higher priced entry points for people who want faster results. That is with memberships as well as high ticket. Revenue spikes can fund growth if you want to spend that money on ads. Yes, it can do that. Or if you want to spend it on promotional funding to people and have contests within your community, you can do that. Proof of expertise makes your membership more desirable. But a membership, stable recurring base, pays every month. And I'm going to keep hounding you on that. There is something so satisfying and so stress reducing about knowing where you're going to be next month. And if you look at the most successful businesses, this is what they have. They have that thing, right? Warm audiences. Your high ticket offers can easily sell into what we call a hybrid model, if you will. But it's easier to gain their trust on a low ticket membership that you prove your worth and then they want to upgrade rather than trying to sell them on something high ticket. The relationship engine earns that trust before any sort of big ask. And sometimes they come to that conclusion on their own. And then the long-term asset that compounds while launching wins. So if you want large per transaction revenue, you're comfortable with launch cycles and selling, you want to have a large, warm, trusting audience. If you want to have to deliver results in compact periods of time, and if you're willing to keep trying to generate leads every single month, then yeah, go with high ticket or course sales. But if you want predictable revenue, you want deeper relationships with people, you want quality, not quantity. You want a business that doesn't reset every month. You're building for sustainability, not just big launch moments. And you want an asset, not an income stream. I suggest that you go with the business model that is creating lots of 4- and 5-figure revenue earners on the platform that we call Skool. Now, if you want to learn more about Skool, I've got a link in my bio where you can find out about Skool, right? I'm going to take you there now. And if you want to get my help, go to this link And then you can actually click on this, which is start your community with me. And if you use my link to start your community, I will get on a one-on-one call with you completely free. Just my saying thank you for you starting your community with me, with Skool. And it's so easy because you literally just click on create your community. Look, you're going to choose. All right. If you want to choose yearly, you can. And it works out to like $7.50 a month because they give you a discount. And personally, if you're just going to go month to month, you're not committing yourself to success if you do that. But if you want to go on monthly, it's only $9 a month. And you can try it for free, right? You come up with a group name, you put in your credit card, you get 14 days to try it out by itself. And then if you want my help to do this on an ongoing basis, all you have to do is you start your Skool with me. Right? Whoops, I hit the wrong button. You decide, do I want lots of intensive ongoing help with weekly meetings with Chuck where he's actually going to help me do the things, or do I want like the quick 3-day setup and then a community I can bounce ideas off of? Depends on what level of help you want, right? But either way, you're going to get assistance by being in my community. And I challenge you to not see the value in my community that you would be willing to pay $5 a month for it after the 7-day free trial period is up. And the other thing about memberships is it is cancel at any time, so the risk to the buyer is so much lower when you do it that way. So that's it for today's live. I didn't see any unanswered questions in here. I'm going to try this one more time. Make sure. Don't know what happened there. Let's see. Let's get out of that. I clicked on my Apple Music. So if there are no questions, and it doesn't appear that there are, let me try one more time here. Make sure there are no questions. I don't see any. All right, so we're going to wrap things up here today. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you'll check out the community, and we'll see you later. The beauties of live. Take care.